All right, look, America's injecting itself thin, and I want to sit with that for a second because there are thousands of doctors handing out Ozempic prescriptions like they're parking tickets. People are losing 40, 50, 60 pounds and crediting this weekly shot. Right? Celebrities are on it, politicians. Your neighbor probably knows 3 people that are on it. Shoot, you probably do too. And the church, the institution that has carried a 2,000-year-old theology of the human body, is almost completely silent about it. Now, before I go any further, I want to tell you 2 things I'm going to show you before this video is over. The first is something about Jesus, something physical, something historical that I guarantee your pastor has almost certainly never told you about him. And once you hear it, you won't be able to look at your own body the same way again. The second thing is the actual answer. It's not a guilt trip. It's not a program. It's not some life hack. It's not another thing to add to the list. It's just the answer that's been sitting in the Bible the entire time that we stopped handing out and started handing out a shot instead and calling it a blessing. It's the one on the market that no shot can replicate. So stay with me. Let me explain what I mean about the silence first. Because I want to be clear that I'm not here to attack Ozempic as a medication. I know some people who have a genuine medical condition, type 2 diabetes, metabolic disorders, where this class of drug is legitimately a godsend, and it's totally appropriate. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not making a medical argument here. Okay, what I'm asking is a completely different question altogether, the one that I feel like we've been ignoring since this thing popped up, shoot, I don't know, 18 months ago. You just see everybody's on it. Why is the hunger for a shortcut this enormous? I mean, just think about how fast this thing spread. Not just among people with medical conditions, the people that this genuinely helped, among people who are otherwise healthy, who got on a waiting list, who found some telehealth provider that would prescribe it for them, or who would split doses because the supply just can't keep up with the demand here in this country. Something underneath that demand is worth asking about. Because Ozempic doesn't change your relationship with your body. It doesn't give you a reason to care about what you put in it. It doesn't touch the reason you stopped caring in the first place. It changes the output without changing a single thing in the input. And that can be scary. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And I think the church was supposed to be the thing that addressed the input. But we just kind of skip past it. Here's where I'm going to make some of you uncomfortable. And that's genuinely not my intention. But somewhere in the last several decades, Western Christianity essentially stopped talking about the body. We have built a whole entire image of Jesus with his robes flowing, carrying the sheep, gentle hands, soft eyes, that communicated one message very clearly to us as believers. The body doesn't really matter. What matters is your soul. Your physical body is just a temporary container. Look, and I understand where that instinct comes from. There's something genuinely right in the emphasis on the spiritual. That's what Jesus did when he transitioned to his hard teachings. But we are humans, so we have a physical body. We just do. And we've handed people a permission slip, a permission structure, really, that they were never supposed to have. If the Jesus we're showing doesn't seem to care about this body, why should I even care about mine? Who cares? It's all about the spiritual. That is the question that I think we accidentally answer for people. and it left a hole. And when the church steps back from an answer, something else will always rush in to fill that. Now, I told you I was going to show you something about Jesus that your pastor has almost certainly never told you. So here it is. Did you know Jesus? He was a beast physically. The Jesus described in the text before the miracles, before anyone knew his name, was a tekton. That's what they called it. That's the Greek word for that the gospel uses. We translate it carpenter, but no, that translation is softer than that word actually deserves. Tekton means skilled craftsman. Stone, timber, hard, demanding physical work. Jesus was jacked. In first century Galilee, you were not cutting lumber with precision equipment. You weren't popping out the bandsaw. You were hauling rock, you're splitting timber, doing the kind of labor that builds a man from the outside in. Every single day. He did it every single day for years. Most of his adult life, before his ministry started, Jesus worked with his hands doing hard physical labor. Think about Jesus' hands. They weren't soft. They were hard. His back was not weak. And then his ministry begins. And over 3 years of public ministry, historians estimate that Jesus walked something like 3,100 miles. Walked it. 3,100 miles on foot. Through desert heat, steep terrain, rocky terrain. Through opposition and crowds and nights sleeping out under the stars under probably harsh conditions. Because there was nowhere else to go. 3,100 miles. This is not a fragile man. This is not the figure we put in the stained glass. And then we get to the passion. And I want to get something right here because there's a lot of confusion around the flogging of Jesus. Right? It gets repeated wrong all the time. And I think accuracy really matters. You've probably heard about the 39 lashes, right? I need to tell you where that actually comes from. 39 lashes, that's Paul's story, not Jesus's. In 2 Corinthians 11, Paul writes that he himself received 40 lashes minus one. 5 separate times, man. But that was Jewish law. It's found in Deuteronomy 25. Cap punishment at 40 lashes because they thought they'd kill you if you went over. And the Pharisees, they gave 39 to avoid accidentally crossing that line. But Jesus was not flogged by Jewish authorities. Jesus was flogged by Romans. That's why he was crucified instead of stoned. Roman scourging, it had no such cap to it. No law protecting that prisoner from going too far. And you've probably heard this before, but it beckons repeating. The instrument that they actually used, the flagrum, it was leather straps that had bone or rock. Things that were designed to tear the flesh, not just break your skin. And in John 19, it says, Pilate simply had him flogged. Doesn't tell us the number given. Scholars who study Roman execution, and they note that many prisoners died just from the flogging alone before they even made it to the cross. But Jesus survived it. And then he placed a crossbeam on his back that was somewhere between 75 and 100 pounds. And he marched that thing through the streets of Jerusalem after everything that his body had already endured. Then he lasted 6 hours on the cross. The Roman soldiers were actually surprised it was already over. I'm not making a case that Jesus was invincible. He wasn't. He was fully man. He bled. He suffered. He died. And I'm not minimizing any of that. What I am saying is that the physical constitution required to survive that, what he survived, and made it to the cross, that doesn't happen by accident. The soft, decorative, wimpy 90s Jesus that we were given, it's not the real Jesus. The soft and decorative Jesus that Western Christianity has been displaying for 200 years here in the U.S. is not the man in the text. The man in the text was built. And I think that matters more than we've been willing to say out loud. Now, here's the scripture that I think changes the entire conversation. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19-20. Paul writes, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought with a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." If you read that again slowly, you are not your own. You've been bought with a price. That's not a motivational phrase, motivational poster for a gym wall. That's a declaration of ownership. Who owns your body? Do you, or does God? When you trusted Christ, something transferred. Your body doesn't belong to you anymore. My body doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to Him. And that changes all of the way we think about why we should take it seriously. We hear entire sermons on financial stewardship, right? We talk about stewarding your time, your talents, your gifts, and your influence over other people. And then we quietly sit 1 Corinthians 6 down and act like the body, that's the one category Paul didn't actually mean that. And that's the gap. That's the gap that was filled by something like Ozempic. And every shortcut before it is rushing to fill that gap right now. I want to give you 3 things Ozempic can never do. Not because I'm against the medication. Who cares? It's not about that. Because I think this is the conversation we should have been having in the church for a very long time now. The first thing that Ozempic can never do is tell you why your body actually matters. Sure, it can change what the scale says, change those numbers, change what you see in the mirror, but it cannot change your relationship with your own body. You can lose the weight and still feel exactly the same way about yourself. That relationship, the one between you and the body that you're actually living in right now, that holds your soul, that requires something deeper than a prescription. The second thing that Ozempic can never do is address why. The hunger. Why it got so overwhelming in the first place. I'm not just talking about physical hunger. There is a spiritual hunger underneath the physical one that no drug is equipped to touch. It's the appetite for something that actually fills us, really fills. It's not a metabolic problem. It's a spirit problem, theological one. And GLP-1 receptors, they have nothing to say about that. That's why fasting is mentioned so much in the Bible. Because when we fast, we remind not only ourselves, but our physical bodies that you are not in control. That's why it was emphasized so much in the Bible. It's why it should be a practice. And GLP-1s can never give you that. The third thing Ozempic can never do is give you a reason bigger than yourself. Right? And this is the one I like to sit with. Right? What's the reason? What's the motivation? Because here's what I've noticed about every shortcut that culture will offer you. Whether it's an injection or a pill or the next fad diet that comes down the road. It operates entirely within the frame of you. How you look, how you feel. how you perform, right? How other people see you, how other people experience you. And when the motivation is just you, tell you what, that will eventually run out. Because you nor I are big enough to be our own reasons. None of us are. What the church was always supposed to offer and stopped is a reason that doesn't run out. You are not your own. You were bought with a price, and so was I. You're not managing your body for yourself. You're stewarding it for the one who bought it on Calvary. And that's a completely different conversation that for some reason we don't want to have. And it is the one that no pharmaceutical company can have with you. I want to be clear about something before this lands somewhere it's not supposed to, right? This is not about what your body looks like, right? It's not about a number on a scale. There are people with real chronic illness and genuine physical limitations where conventional fitness, right, it's out of the question. It's complicated in ways that I'm not qualified to address. That's not who I'm talking to right here. All right, I'm talking to the majority of people. I'm not talking to those who have an outlying issue. There's no accusation for you here today. I'm talking to the people who have no such limitation and who have slowly over the years just drifted. You've made excuses for it. I do it too. You didn't drift out of rebellion. You just drifted. The slow accumulation of easier choices every single day has led you to where you are now. And I think a huge reason for that drift is that the church stopped giving people a theological reason to actually care about these bodies. We gave shame sometimes, sure. Silence most of the time is what we gave people. What we almost never give or have given was a reason bigger than how you look or how other people see you, what other people think about you. So people went looking for one somewhere else. And that's where we landed, where we are today. And when the reason didn't come from God, they took the shortcut. And I get it. I genuinely do. But the shortcut changes the number. Doesn't change the relationship you have with this body. And what God was always after is, he's always after a relationship. I told you at the beginning, I have a question that reframes everything. So here it is. If you were managing something that belonged to someone you deeply loved and you deeply respected and you deeply cared for, not for them to see, not for them to evaluate your performance, just because you had made a real commitment to care for it, would you be managing it the same way you're managing it right now? That's it. It's the whole thing. So how do you shift? How do you start to change that? Well, first of all, stop looking at how it affects you. Start looking at it as a stewardship model, right? Do small things. You made small decisions to get you here. Start with little things. Walk in the morning before you look at your phone. Sleep like your body was designed to sleep. Eat something your grandmother would actually recognize as food. Drink water. Start somewhere. Just start. The culture is telling you there's a shortcut. And there is, but the question is that the answer? Because there's a lot of people taking it right now without even thinking about it, Christians included. And the church has been almost completely silent in response. But the answer was always there. You are not your own. You were bought for a price. Honor God with your body. Not to look a certain way, not to outperform somebody else, not to prove anything to anyone that's watching you, but because it belongs to Him. And you're the steward of it. You were put in charge of it, not me. I was put in charge of this one. You were put in charge of yours. And that's the answer Ozempic can't give you. If this one landed with you today, maybe somebody came to mind, right, who deals with this. Maybe you do. But if somebody came to mind, share it with them. Is there probably somewhere in that conversation right now, whether it be the shortcut, the shame, or just drift? Happens to all of us. Send them this one. I'll see y'all out here. That's it. Find Jesus, fight culture, and spread the good news.